Hi, welcome to our class today. Hi, so our talk today is going to be about punishments versus consequences, and we're going to learn the differences. It's going to be really interactive because we're going to learn the differences first, the theory, and then we're going to see how to put this into practice. And I think this is what makes it very enriching, where we see actual events that occur and how we can practice outside of the moment and build that muscle before we encounter different situations. Because in the moment, it's much easier to get triggered or to be reactive. But if we practice and prepare, it's a great way to meet the situation with a different perspective and a different attitude and from a different energetic state. Punishments versus consequences. So is there a difference? My name is Alice. I am a psychologist and I am also a conscious parenting method coach. It's my passion to teach parents different skills and different ways of relating with oneself and with their children. There are lots of tools out there and there are lots of ways that we can grow together with our children, because when our children come to this earth, they don't come with manuals, and our history plays a big role in how we parent. But history is not destiny, like Dr. Dan Siegel and Dr. Tina Payne Bryson say. And I love this because if we go back to our history and see how we were raised, what we liked, what we didn't like, we have the opportunity to reparent ourselves and do parenting in a different way. Because we know that we all do the best we can with the resources we have in that moment. And if we gain new resources and new tools and expand our inner self and our knowledge, we will approach our children from a different place. So I'm so honored to be here, and I'm so glad you're here today to learn more about parenting from this conscious parenting lens. So what are our learning goals for today? First, we want to know what are punishments. We also want to know what are consequences so we can know the difference from punishments and consequences. Then we will learn about the logical and natural consequences. And finally, we will be putting this theory into practice with practical solutions, with cases from everyday life to see how the theory applies in real life. So let's start with punishments. What is a punishment and are they necessary? Punishments are reactive and punitive. So they come from this place of anger, or from there's this trigger, an unwanted behavior from a child. So there's this reaction and this punitive measure or method that parents, teachers, or other authorities use to cut an undesired behavior. And as I said, they come from this place of anger. They are almost as if they are a retaliation. You did this that I don't like, so I will take away something from you. It can be a threat, yelling, criticism or shaming, spanking, taking away objects and privileges. For example, if a child was not ready in the morning to leave for an event, the consequence is later you cannot use your iPad. So as we see here, it's really unrelated with the event. So getting up early and being ready to go to school, to go on an outing, and loss of a privilege, such as using the iPad or going outside to the park later on or meeting a friend on a play date, has nothing to do with the event. So really, punishments don't really teach What they do is they stop the behavior because the child is afraid. So parents usually tell me, hey, but I punished my child and he stopped the behavior. And yes, they do stop because they go into the fight, flight, or freeze where they get afraid, or they become afraid of what will happen to them if they get punished, so they stop it. But it works only in short term. What we want to build with our children is long-term self-discipline. We don't want them to have an outside authority figure that tells them what to do and what not to do. We want them to learn from their experience and say, hey, maybe this is not the best thing for me to do right now, because we've let real life and experiences teach them. So a punishment is highly conditional. And yes, of course, a threat is much different from spanking. So the science is clear that spanking and any corporal punishments is really not beneficial to anyone. It creates guilt in the parent, resentment in the child, and can even lead to further trauma, or that is a generational pain that gets passed on. So science has already said not for this. And if we have already resorted to any of these, and as parents, there is no parent that I know that has not yelled or lost their cool. This happens to us because we are humans and we get angry. Sometimes we do. The thing is, if we catch ourselves and if we can repair and work on doing it different the next time, we are on the path of consciousness. So it's not about being perfect. It's about wanting to change and repairing when we make a mistake. So we can see here, this kid is in what is a typical timeout, where the child is separated from the family or separated from an event, a situation, so they can go and think about what they did. The thing is, usually our children only feel resentment when they're in that place. They don't know what they've done wrong. They just know that their behavior led to being ostracized. And in those moments is a teaching moment. We first help them calm down. We can separate them if they were, for example, hitting, but we go with them and we help them calm down and do this co-regulation, which when they are young, they really need this space and this time with us to learn what to do. So if what they did was not something desired, what can I do? What would be something that would be desired? So punishments really create resentment and fear. It tears the relationship if it happens, especially if it's something that happens and happens and happens. And there are lots of power struggles. There is this resentment and tear in the relationship. They experience fear, or they don't do a certain behavior, but out of fear, not because they truly believe that it's not the best behavior to do. Sometimes even punishments increase a certain behavior because children want to be seen, they want to be heard. And if we're not meeting a certain need, they might be doing a certain behavior so we can see them. When we punish, we often feel guilt, especially if we come from this reactive place of anger. And well, it does not teach children to be self-directed. So punishments really don't work because they don't make sense to the child. They create a rift in the relationship and they create fear. We want to let life and the consequences teach. So if the point of discipline, like Dr. Dan Siegel say and Dr. Tina Bryson says, is to teach. So that's why the word discipline was something that psychologists were not using anymore. And even Dr. Shefali Sabari, who's the creator of the Conscious Parent, says, I don't really like the word, but Dr. Dan Siegel and I do like this approach that they redefine the word to mean to teach and to become self-disciplined as a goal in the end. So what are consequences and how do they help in this goal of teaching, guiding, and becoming self-directed adults? So consequences, the first part is that they are directly related to the behavior or the situation at hand. They're a result of a decision taken by the child, and they are really young, they're still learning, but as children get older, they will have consequences related to the decisions that they make and know they are consciously making. It is not a punishment. It does not blame, shame, or label the child. Labels would be, oh, you were bad, or yeah, you were a bad child, stop being lazy, you're such a lazy child that you don't do your homework. They don't blame, shame, or label. It's a conscious and respectful response, not a reaction to anger. So as parents, if we are triggered, it's not the time to punish. We must first take care of our own emotions and then talk to our children and see if there is an appropriate consequence that actually teaches, not something we impose. It does not seek retaliation or you did this to me, so I do this to you. It is reasonable and takes into account the child's age and development. So if they made a mess, we're not going to expect, if they are 2 years old or even younger, we can't expect them to clean it up all by themselves, so we can help them. We can say, oh, we spilled, now we clean. When things get dirty, we clean, and we do it with them. And it teaches the child that actions have consequences. So it's all about cause and effect. My behaviors have a natural consequence to them. And sometimes I need to do something to repair. Sometimes the consequence is completely natural and there's nothing really to do but to sit with the situation. And sometimes we can teach our children that, hey, your action had this impact on someone or something, and this is how we can repair. So this allows the child to learn responsibility and self-direction. And when we allow consequences, children learn how to make their own decisions. Sometimes as parents, we don't want to see our children suffer. And this would be an example if our child constantly forgets their lunchbox or constantly is forgetting their lunch. We set them out for them. They constantly forget it. And we go and rush to give it to them. They never learn the consequence of feeling hungry or having to ask someone to share lunch with them, because we rescue them from the natural consequence that occurs from their lack of remembering to bring their lunch. So only when a child feels the consequence of their behavior do they get the message. And sometimes it takes trial and error, and it takes falling off the bike 1, 2, 3 times before they learn, okay, this behavior that I'm doing has this consequence. And I don't want to feel that consequence anymore. So they change their behavior. But sometimes we cannot expect them, as we cannot expect ourselves to begin to learn a new language and automatically know it, for our children to automatically know what behaviors are appropriate and which ones are not. They're exploring, they're testing limits. And of course, we have some limits at home, but they will infringe on them. And that's okay, as long as they are safe, because the consequence will eventually teach that the behavior provoked it. So, what are the natural and logical consequences that we can, as parents, use to teach? So the natural consequences, they are, just like the word says, natural. They occur simply because of cause and effect. So this would be touching a candle and burning my finger. They allow the child to experience the reality of nature and does not require parental intervention. It is something automatically built into the situation. So there's really, the parent does nothing. The nature teaches. But when safety is involved, we must interfere with gentle guidance. So we won't let our children cross the road without looking both ways or without a parent's hand, because we know that the consequence could be fatal. So those are situations when, even if there's a natural consequence, we don't let nature take the reins. Here we do interfere. But how would a natural consequence look? So if Johnny does not put on his winter coat on a cold day, he will get cold. Maybe we are in the morning, we are leaving. Hey, Johnny, put on your coat. Johnny resists. He does not want to put on his coat. He says he's not cold. We take it with us. We know it's not that cold, but we want him to feel okay. Oh, Mom, I'm cold. Oh, sweetie, you did not want to put on your jacket. You know, when we don't put on our jacket, we get cold. And there he begins to learn that not putting on a jacket when it's cold outside would lead me to feel uncomfortable. And another example is if Miriam does not eat her lunch, she will get hungry. So if that we decided that lunch was going to be at a certain time, and Miriam decides she does not want to eat anything on her plate, we can say, okay, you're not hungry right now. You don't have to eat, but our next meal will be until dinner or until snack time. And the consequence of her not eating is that she will experience hunger. So really there, nature takes course. Sometimes we do need to help our children or guide them. This is where we use logical consequences. So here, when a natural consequence is dangerous or it does not teach the child, because some natural consequences take so long to teach, or they have to do with putting on a helmet while riding a bike, we know that we don't want them to experience any injuries. So here we say, hey, if you don't wear your helmet, you cannot ride your bike. So you decide, do you want to walk or do you want to ride your bike? If no helmet. Okay, it's okay. You decided to walk. The bike can only be used if you wear a helmet. And they might scream, tantrum, anything, but if we are sure of the limit, we can hold it. And there, the child, we can say, you decided that you did not want to wear your helmet, so I cannot give you the bike because it's my job to keep you safe. And there's a logical consequence. And that teaches responsibility and lets children decide. So they start deciding. If a child is throwing a toy that we know can break, we can warn them, hey, that toy, I see that right now you are not playing appropriately with this toy. I'm going to have to take it away for now because I don't want it to break. Or if we want to let the natural consequence teach, there we would let the toy, we would say, okay, I see that you're playing like this. If it breaks, you won't have that toy anymore, and I'm not buying a new one. So there we have the option to use or a natural, or if we don't want that to break, we use a logical consequence. So here the very important part is that it needs to be logically related to the behavior. And we can also use it for positive behaviors because positive behaviors have positive consequences. And we can say, hey, I see that you helped me put away all your toys. Thanks so much. How orderly of you. And we can praise them in that way because we see and they see that their behaviors, their positive behaviors, have positive consequences. So what would not be, okay, so here's another example. Jimmy is learning to draw. He was making his creations on a piece of paper. Then he explored drawing on the floor. So mom sees and says, we only draw on paper. So mom tells him where he can paint. Come and help me clean up. And she can help him with his hand and with a little wipe, clean off the floor or clean off the wall if it's on the wall. And if the child continues to do that, Well, oh, I see that right now you're not wanting to draw on the paper. I'll take the markers away for now. And when you're ready or another day, we can take them out and try again. So this is how we use the logical consequences. And sometimes we need to be clear that a consequence is not another word for punishment. So if your child did not want to eat their meal, a consequence would not be, you cannot go to basketball practice, because it's completely unrelated. What does eating your food have to do with going to basketball practice? It has nothing to do. If our child did not want to take a shower, telling him or her that he cannot go on a play date tomorrow has nothing to do with the behavior at hand. That would be a punishment. That is not a consequence. That would be using, this is your consequence, but no, it's really a punishment disguised with the word consequence. So it's really important to remember that it has to be related to the behavior in order to teach. So here the challenge really is for us parents to be patient, because consequences don't always teach a lesson instantly. So here it really is, it is up to us to be really patient and really clear on what we want to teach and clear on our boundaries, because a punishment is quick and it's automatic and it works in the moment but does not work in the long term, and it's not helpful at all for the relationship. So really sometimes we need to be patient and continue teaching and teaching day in and day out and letting our children experience consequences. But we stay with this neutral energy. We don't say, aha, I told you so. I said to put on your helmet, if not, you wouldn't have your bike. That would be a retaliation. So how do we put this theory into practice? Okay, so here are different examples, and if you want, I will tell you the answers, but I'd love to hear your input in the chat box. So what would be a logical consequence of having a birthday party? If you have any ideas? So of having, of inviting people over and having lots of plates, lots of, it's natural of having an event. So, okay, I'm going to help you with this. So a natural consequence here would be that it would be messiness. Like, it's just something that happens. The plates will be left on the side. We can see here that there's lots of ribbons, mess. It's natural, but of course, everyone will have fun. And the logical consequence is to clean up. So really, there's nothing wrong with that. What would be a logical consequence of telling your child, oh, honey, you're running with your ice cream. You're running with your ice cream, honey. Be careful. Or, hey, I think you should sit down if you're eating ice cream. Don't run with it. So what would be a logical consequence there? Yeah, exactly. The ice cream will fall and the child will have no more ice cream. And if that happens, we can, oh, sweetie, your ice cream fell. You were running and the ice cream fell down. So we don't say, I told you, why didn't you listen to me? Oh my God, because the lesson there, I want more. I'm so sorry. Today, I only had the opportunity to buy one ice cream. We can try again another day. And that's it. And of course, I know you really wanted your ice cream. Yes, you wanted your ice cream. You ran and it fell. So we validate the emotion, but the consequence teaches. And a logical consequence of letting our children pour their own cup. So that will be watery mess. Yes. So the logical would be there's an overflow, and the natural will be that there's an overflow, and the logical is that we need to clean it up, and we can invite our child to help clean that up. A natural consequence of this girl writing on herself with a marker. So the logical there would be that she is dirty. So she has her face all, she gets dirty, yeah. And the logical, if we don't want that to happen, or we say no painting on your face, would be to take the marker away. A logical consequence of not studying or not doing homework. So logical would, yeah, so natural, you fail class. And logical, I will sit down with you or help you set up the environment so you can do your homework. And also we talked about the one of throwing a toy. So the natural would be that it can break. The logical is, I'm going to take this away. You're not playing with it appropriately right now. And we take care of our toys. Yeah. So yeah, while in class or falling behind. And sometimes we do need to let them experience this. We need to let them spill some water so they learn that if I don't stop, the water will overflow. Sometimes it can be messy, but if we can do it and we have the time, we need to allow for some natural consequences to occur and provide the logical ones when they are needed. So here, if there is a spill in a cup, the natural consequences is that the table is dirty, there's a mess, and the natural and the logical is to clean it up, and your child can help clean up. Even if it was an accident, there is a consequence, and it's something that we would naturally do. If we spilled something, we clean it up and we can help them clean up. All of these teaches responsibility. So here I want us to do, we're already on time, but I do want to, for the office hours, but I do, if you want to give me a thumbs up so we do one more activity with this video.
Care of this. Time to lay down the law. Son, put down the bowl. All right, you guys are ganging up on me now. Now, I'm not kidding this time. Both you guys, put down the bowls.
Well, they put them down.
I may be going out on a limb here, Jess, but I think they're testing you.
Danny's right. You gotta be tough. Don't waffle.
That's right. Okay. All right, listen, guys. Now you guys are in trouble, okay? You know what happens next? Beck, what happens next?
I think the boys should get a timeout.
Timeout. That's right. Timeout for the both of you. That's good, okay? You guys are going to go upstairs, and you're going to sit there until it's time to come out. Hence the term timeout.
And Jess, no dessert.
Why? That was tough. I didn't waffle.
Not you, the boys.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Come on, guys. Let's go. Come on. Upstairs.
Sorry, everyone.
Hey, come on, Beck. This stuff happens all the time. I mean, who amongst us hasn't splattered bean dip all over their headboard, huh? Yeah, pass me the bread, please.
Okay, everybody, let's get back to this fabulous meal that Vicky made for us.
Hey, everything's really good.
Okay, there you go. Now, guys, I'm not doing this to be mean. It's just that, you kind of backed me in a corner down there in front of everybody with that pasta incident. I mean, you don't want your old man looking like a weenie, do you?
Weenie.
No, come on, guys. This is no joke. Now, sit down, son. Please, put the chair down. Now, sit down. This isn't a joke. Look, we're all on the same team here. Let's just do this timeout thing and we'll get it over with, okay? No. You know what? Now you pushed me too far. Here I am trying to be a nice guy. Nikki, Alex, you keep those little butts in those chairs and you do not move a muscle until I say it's okay. Do you understand me?
Me, Daddy. Me, Dad. Me, Daddy.
Me, Daddy.
Me, Daddy.
All right. So, what did you think? What could we recommend for the dad? Yeah, logical, help clean it up. Natural, no more dinner. That could be one option. We can ask them, hey, I see you guys are not eating? I am starting to think you're not hungry. Maybe at that moment they are not hungry. So we can avoid getting into all of these other things if we say, I see you're not hungry. I see that, okay, you're not hungry. I'll take the plates away, and logical, let's clean it up. Sometimes it gets tough because there's lots of emotions here. They were in a social situation, and that sometimes gets tough. And if our children do get flooded with emotion, it's pretty normal and recommended also to separate them, but in a way that we can hold space for them. And it's not as a timeout, but we need to go and co-regulate together before we can come back. So right now, I would start believing that maybe they were not hungry, and no more dinner. Okay, if you throw the plate again, no more dinner. Or if you're not putting it down, there will be no more dinner. Yes, I want dinner. Okay. But if you do it one more time, no more dinner, because it's a logical consequence, and they are playing and testing. And yes, to feel enough. So really what happens here is that logical and natural consequences reduce stress in parents, because we don't have to do all this getting angry and the punishments, and sometimes we blow up and we give big punishments that then we have a hard time going through with, or they are totally unrelated, that causes resentment, and they really don't teach. And it does teach higher responsibility in children, because they start knowing, like we said before, that their actions have consequences. Thank you so much for being here.